Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Milevskaya. I'm the founder of Astana Group and the host of a video series called DareYOU, created to help women achieve their career dreams. Today's topic is sharpening your negotiation skills during the hiring process. I'm joined today by Emily Pfeiffer, who is a principal analyst of commerce technology at Forrester. Emily, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Tell me, what kind of challenges do women face during the hiring process, especially when it comes to salary negotiation?
They don't negotiate. It's the biggest challenge. I hate that I have to say this, but statistically, the number one reason why women are paid less is because they don't negotiate or advocate for themselves as hard as men do. And I hate having to say it because it sounds like victim blaming. It's our fault we're paid less, right? But we just tend not to ask for it. We tend to take the offer that's put in front of us, and it's a business's job to spend as little as possible, right? So when I was a manager years ago, I was offering a position to a woman, and I called to offer her the role. And I love that phone call. I love making that call when everyone should be excited. You know, they want the job. I want them for the job. It's amazing. So I called and I said, good news. I'm here to offer you the position. And she said, great, thank you. I'll take it. And I said, well, hold on. We haven't talked about compensation. Let me explain. And I had a plan for her because it was a marketing role that was very quantifiable. And so we wanted to make sure that she would deliver the results that we expected. And so we built in a phased increase over 30, 60, 90 days based on the results we expected she would bring. So I said, well, so we want to start you here. And again, she said, fantastic, perfect. Yeah, I'll take it. And I said to her, look, I'm just going to ask you to stop talking for a minute because I realize right now that I could get you for less than I'm planning to pay you, and that would be great for my budget. But I don't think you're doing yourself any favors here. And I think the value you'll bring is more than the number I've just told you. We've actually got a plan for increases over a short time period. Can you just not accept again and let me explain to you the plan? And I think that women advocating for each other in that way is so important, but she should have negotiated for herself, or at least just paused and listened. You don't have to accept the minute someone offers you a role. You're allowed to think about it. And I think a lot of the time it gives us the chance to talk to other people in our lives and make sure that we have checked our numbers and that we're where we believe we ought to be.
Emily, I completely agree. I think many women, including myself, are guilty of just rushing to accept the role because we love the person hiring us, we want to make a difference, want to be out there adding value, and we just want to be very polite and not ruffle any feathers, right?
Yeah.
So how can we help right now help women get better paying jobs? How can they better negotiate? If you can think of 3 things that women can do
Mm.
to secure a better pay rate right now, please let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So the first thing I recommend is just to do your research. Don't go in cold. Don't go in having no idea what comp they might offer you. So there are websites like salary.com and Glassdoor. I'm most familiar with US websites, but I'm sure there are others. You can talk to peers who are in similar roles. You don't have to ask what they're making, but you could say, given my level of experience and where I'm located, what's a range that you would expect? That kind of thing. You can look up information from public companies to see what they share about compensation. And many US states now require a salary range in the job posting. Some businesses get around this by posting an astronomically large range, but still it's at least directionally helpful. So make sure you do your research and you understand what a reasonable range would be for the role that you're applying for. 2, don't volunteer what you're currently making. This is a huge mistake. And there are some US states like Massachusetts, where I am, that have now made it illegal. Employers are not allowed in many areas to ask you what you're currently making. And it was specifically to protect pay equity for certain groups, including women. Because if you're underpaid and your next employer is allowed to ask or find out what you're currently making, and this happened to me, they said, well, we know where you are right now. So this is actually a pretty healthy bump for you and you should be grateful for it. That
Mm,
has nothing to do with it, right? If you're
right.
underpaid, it's a great way to stay chronically underpaid. So do not volunteer what you're currently making. And if they ask questions like, well, what's your expected salary range? Be prepared with an answer that's a healthy range without voluntarily saying, well, I'd have to at least be above where I am today, which is don't do it. Don't sell yourself short. Third, try really hard not to associate your compensation with your self-worth. This is easy to do. People get things in their head like, I'm worth more than this, right? It feels like personal self-worth, and that level of personalization of your compensation, it's not the right way to think about it. The role has a value. It has a value to the company, and the value that you provide is what it's worth. So, I knew someone years ago who went from a very high-powered role that was highly compensated to kind of an individual contributor role. It had less responsibility. It came with a pay cut. They did that intentionally. They wanted less stress, but the person wasn't worth less. The value of the work was. It's not about what you're worth. Don't tie your feelings of self-worth to your comp.
Emily, it makes perfect sense. I think for anyone out there who is right now facing negotiation or will be negotiating, please keep in mind these three things. Do your research, figure out what the proper salary range is. Do not offer what you're making now because you could be underpaid and you're at risk of being chronically underpaid. But I love the last piece in particular, do not attach your compensation to your self-worth. You are absolutely incredible, and your salary is simply what you're adding to the organization, and it is not tied to who you are as a person.
Exactly.
This is fantastic, Emily. So when you think about your younger self, you went now through so many hiring processes and salary negotiations. What advice would you give to that person and to probably many other young women out there right now who are starting their careers and want to learn and do better?
Self-advocacy is your right. I think that we, as women, we go into these negotiations feeling like we need to be polite. We want to seem likable. We don't want to seem too aggressive. And I think that's really hard for women in particular. Female leaders in powerful positions, sadly, I think have to learn at some point in their career that it's really difficult to be powerful and likable as a woman. And men don't really have to wrestle with that. It's okay to be a powerful guy and still be a likable guy, right? But we're still struggling with accepting that from women. So it's easy to think, I'm just starting this relationship. I don't want to seem too pushy. I don't want to be demanding. This is the time. That's the time to negotiate. And where you start is where you'll build from. Every increase is a percentage, right? So start yourself off nice and strong. And any company that's offended or upset by you politely and appropriately negotiating might indicate to you that it's not a healthy environment, and better to know that sooner too. So don't worry about seeming unappreciative. Don't worry about seeming unlikable. Be polite and appropriate. But remember that advocating for yourself is your right. And I think as women, it's so easy to do this for each other, right? If you imagine someone you really care about in that situation, you would want to advocate so hard for them. You'd turn into a mama bear and you'd say, don't you know how amazing they are? You're lucky to have them, right? Do that for yourself. I wish I could go back and do it for my younger self, these things that I needed to hear. Self-advocacy is your right. You deserve it.
This is fantastic advice. I can't thank you enough for it. And I'm sure that many women out there who will watch this video will appreciate it as well. Do not be afraid to self-advocate and promote your skills and capabilities, because you're there adding value and you deserve to be compensated for that value. Emily, thank you so much again. I also wanted to mention that Emily is writing a book about women in technology, and there is opportunity to participate and provide your feedback to a survey. So please reach out to Emily on LinkedIn and provide input for that book. Emily, I can't wait to see your book, and I'm sure that we can all learn and benefit from it as much as we did from the simple conversation with you. Thank you so much.